Next chapter is skills, so let's talk about the rogue. The rogue is supposed to be the skills master. Now, how do they represent this mastery? He gets 8 skills. Really? He gets 8 skills? He can't do anything, special with them? Well, he can take 10 sometimes. Okay. That's not really protecting his niche. He's not the best at skills. He just gets a lot of them. Why don't we make him the best at skills? If that's what he's supposed to be. Why don't we give some mechanic where he... I don't know. I like the idea of him automatically succeeding at most checks and being able to attempt at least the impossible. Like climbing up a flat-surfaced, oiled marble wall. That sounds cool. Why can't he do that? Would that break the game if he could? No. This is a game about combat. Skills are kind of right here, and combat's kind of right here. So having the rogue be able to do that wouldn't change the focus of this game so much. But he can't, which is sad. Also, like I said, skills are based off stats. Why should a game have 2 mechanics for the same thing? I don't get it. Why not keep it simple? It's easier to balance if it's simpler. Why not have a simpler system that can do the same thing? I mean, all stats are bonus to different abilities, different class abilities, and different skill abilities. That's what they are. What? Why add more numbers on top of them? You already have a mechanic that gives you bonus to those numbers. Why do you need another one? The answer is you don't. You don't need another mechanic. Stats are useless. They just add more numbers into the mix. Numbers which you already have being given to you by something else. Alright. So now skills. Feats. Here's something very interesting. I do not like the way this does feats. Some feats are alright. Feats that give bonuses to skills, Like I said, why would you have multiple mechanics for making you better at something? I don't like them. Now, I'm turning to the feats real quick just so I can get a list of them to look at. Now, let's look at these feats. Power attack. Trade attack bonus for damage. Okay. There's variants off of that. And the next one is cleave. Extra melee attack after dropping a target. Now, for cleave, I have a two-handed greatsword, and I slice through an enemy. Now, just because I do not have this feat, does that mean I do not know the concept, or understand the concept of moving my body more so it hits that other enemy? No, I could probably understand the concept, it's pretty simple. But I still can't attempt it. This is my problem. Feats give you an ability that you could not even attempt before. I mean, according to the system, that you couldn't attempt before you had the feat. I don't believe that's how it should be run, at all. I believe that you should be able to attempt whatever you want. However, unless you have the feat, it's going to give you a deadly minus. Because, yes, I understand the concept of a whirlwind attack. Now, does that mean I've been trained in it? No, it does not. But it doesn't mean I shouldn't be able to attempt it. Feats should get rid of those minuses, horrible deadly minuses that you're given when you attempt something that you don't have to do. Because feats are training. There are things you're able to do. Now, some of them are set up with like weapon proficiency. You can use a weapon you're not proficient in, and you just take minuses. So that's how power attack, cleave, all those different things, whirlwinds attack, things in that nature. You should always be able to attempt them just at a minus. Now, I would get rid of a lot of them. Like I said, the skill ones, different stuff like that. All the ones that pretty much do what you could do with something else. The feats need to be special situational modifiers that you couldn't get somewhere else. There's no reason to have another mechanic that adds on to these numbers when you, I'm talking about skills, when you already have a mechanic that boosts those numbers. So that's what I would do with feats. Now, flip back to the chapter listings again. Please excuse me. Alright, now, so after feats we have description. Give your character a deity. Yeah, that just kind of described a little bit in here. Why are the deities not described real well with the cleric, if that's what he's supposed to do, be a religious person? Alignment. My problem's with alignment. My problem is this: no character thinks he's evil. Unless, and if he does, that means he's feeling guilt. Which is interesting. If you think you're evil, if you know you're evil, that's a sign of guilt. Because no truly evil person, or at least to our standards, thought he was evil. They thought they were doing something good. Which is a catch when you start labeling your person as chaotic evil or chaotic neutral. And then, of course, people pick that, and then they don't follow it. Why have it at all? Because there's spells that are like protection from good. That could have been reworked a little bit better. Just saying. Equipment. Now, here is where I'm going to talk about something, because in equipment, their weapons, let's be honest, are not balanced. There are some that are mechanically better than others. That's just trash. They should at least balance the weapons. Andrew was complaining, oh, you always see people running around with longsword. I'm sick of the longsword. I never use the longsword. Well, that's because the longsword is best, man. Now he said, oh, well, I use something else, and I'm, just as fine, and, I'm having fun. But, look, let's have our cake and eat it too. There's no reason why the other weapons should be bad. We could make them just as good as the longsword. Easily. Why don't we? Why do we have these trash weapons? Why do we force people to man up and use these kind of trash weapons? We shouldn't. That's bad game design. Let's not do that. Let's fix the weapons, make them equal, make them balanced, and pretty much make them the same. So when someone's playing them, they're playing it because they like the weapon. Alright, not because it's the best. Now, I'm going to talk about armor. And when I'm talking about armor, I'm going to talk about hit points. Let's look at what you have protecting you in D&D. First, you have the enemy's roll. The enemy has to roll to hit you. Now, my phone's going off. 1 second, guys. Sorry. The enemy must roll to hit you. After the enemy has rolled to hit you, if they succeed in hitting you, they then must tear through your hit points and try to bring you to 0. Now, as I said, I do not like multiple mechanics that do the same thing. So why don't you hear me out? I can't remember who said it, but someone on this community started before, and they said, it takes this much of a sword to kill you. That's not a sword. So your real hit points, your real health, is that -10 to 0 range. Once you take a hit, you whiz, dying, fool. Huh. Now, these game designers, they wanted a system that really let open combat flow. That really let people, draw swords, come against each other, and have a bunch of rounds of attacking and using their abilities. And so what they did was this. They created an abstract kind of vision of hit points. And Aaron, Zerk83, said, and also Master Flowers, rightfully said, hit points are not your health. They were never meant to be your health. They are an abstract concept, kind of relating to battle fatigue, but not really. They are your character shield. Because hit points, really, how they function mechanically in this game is not as health. They function as the point at which your character is hit. That's what they are. Because people say, oh, it doesn't make sense that you can lose, 99 health out of 100 and, still be fine and fighting just great. Well, that's because hit points aren't health. They are hit points. They are the point at which you are hit. That -10, that 0 to -10 range, that's where you're hit. That's where you're bleeding out and not doing good. That's where it's dangerous. So hit points have been described as battle fatigue, which a lot of people are like, oh, I don't really like that description as battle fatigue. You should be, taking hits and taking... Okay. Well, that's what they created. I don't like that, and according to what a lot of people said, they don't like that either. That's why they've house ruled the system. Except they house rule it to make hit points health. Hit points are not health. Now, you're asking me, well, is there another way then? Yes. Hit points don't make sense as battle fatigue. I mean, they kind of do. You can kind of justify, oh, you really had to put a lot of energy to move that way. Put a lot of energy to move that way. Okay. But, meh. It's not really giving you the feeling you want now, is it? Now, let's look at armor now. And I'll get back to hit points, I promise. This is all doing the same thing. Armor. What does armor do? Really, what armor does is gives you bonus to dodge. It's like a straight up bonus to your dex. You add your dex and your armor and your shield and voila! You got this bonus. Like I said, I do not like systems that give... that have multiple mechanics for the same thing. So, let's have dodge be dodge. You roll your dice to dodge. If you do not dodge, that means he hits you. Right? There's no reason why you should have, armor, be this, oh yeah, you dodge it. Now, another problem. Armor never gets worse. Now, let me tell you something. If I take my two-handed greatsword and I step in baseball bat swing up into your leather armor, you and your leather armor are going to be trashed. Badly. Badly. So, but, not in D&D. It just means, oh, you got stabbed. Or, you took a lot of points evading that stab. Now, okay, so what does that mean? That means this. That what armor really does is gives you bonus to dodge. I don't want it to do that. What would I have done? I would have made armor give you bonus to health. I would have made the only thing that gives you bonus to health armor. Now, that's another thing aside. You could run the hit point system, but what does that do if you change armor to health? That's the only thing that gives you health. Well, you've got fighters and the heavier classes being the only people able to wear heavy armor, meaning they have the most health. If a wizard wants to wear this heavy armor, that means he's going to have less health. Or, he's not going to be able to cast as well, but also have less health. And he'll have less health because he's not wearing the bigger armor. The people who are bigger, who naturally have more hit points right now, would be the same ones, because those are also the classes that are able to wear heavy armor. Ooh, I think I like that. Wow, a hit point system that makes sense, because hit points are not your health, they are the condition of your armor, how much it is protecting you. And once that armor is gone, once you're, you do not dodge and you get hit, and your armor can't soak the damage anymore, whoopsie, 0 to -10 range, you're not feeling so hot, are ya? That's personally how I would run it, because I find hit points to be a more abstract concept that I do not like. And this still gives you the flavor that you want, which is these bigger guys have more hit points. The fighters and your clerics. Whatever. Alright. So, equipment. That's what I have to say about that. Combat. I'm going to stay away from this. Combat works, as we have seen. It works. Except that at 20th level, the best person at combat is not the fighter, whose job it is to fight. It's the wizard, who can nuke things into oblivion. A lot. Yeah, that's a problem. So, the person who should be best at combat, who should be, the wizard might be able to get a few things off. That's cool. That's what he was meant to do. That's not what he does. What he does is just nuke everything into oblivion while simultaneously giving himself awesome skill bonuses to stuff that the rogue should be able to do. But well, whatever. The fighter should be the best at fighting. It's what he should be able to do. Just saying. Alright. Adventuring, magic. Let's talk about magic. I do not like magic in this system. I do not like it. Because what magic is pretty much a warrior's attack with different flavor. At least for the ones that deal damage. The ones that cause status effects, I find those are cool. They should have kept those. They should have trashed the ones that dealt damage. They already have a mechanic that deals damage. You don't need another one. You don't need the stress of trying to balance those, because guess what? They're not balanced at all. Which is sad. They should be balanced, but they're not. So. Also, magic is not magic. It is a list of abilities. I would like to see something that is magic, and a real magic system is flexible. This is not flexible. However, that is a piece of, personal opinion. It's not, if you want to run a, static magic system, that's fine. However, your magic system should not be better than the fighter, and the rogue, and everything else. It should do its weird effects, but it should do that only. Alright, spells, same thing. Alright. Now, the last kind of thing I'm going to add on here is I'm going to talk about the saves. The reflex, the fortitude, and the will. What were they thinking? I can tell you what they were thinking. They were thinking, well, we want to be able to give give the classes something that lets them, scale. We need to give the classes something that scales and allows them to attempt to dodge things and do that and attempt to, endure stuff. But we need it to scale. It won't just work with the dexterity bonus. Now, they could have made it scale with that, that same thing, the dexterity bonus, the con bonus, the wisdom, but they didn't. They chose to make another system, which is a fault in their system. They should not have done that. They should have had their cake and ate it too. They should have made a system where your constitution, your wisdom, and your reflex, and your dexterity stats scaled with your level to somehow produce your saves. They should not have had another mechanic for something they already had. But they did. This does, do what they want. They wanted a scaling thing. However, reflex. Well, what's the difference between a reflex save and a dexterity roll? Well, that's a good question, Jimmy, because I'm not sure. What's the difference between a wisdom roll and a willpower save? That's another good question, Jimmy. I think you should stop asking these. Oh, what's the difference between a fortitude save and a constitution roll? Jimmy, I'm really getting upset with you right now. I just want to let you know. Alright. So, this has been my review of 3.5 Dungeons & Dragons. Having said that, and having said I won't talk about anything I like about the system, I enjoy playing this. I do. I enjoy playing this. But what I listed, I view as problems within it. Now, I'm going to go over it once more. I don't want to say, I've played this system for years, and I've never had any trouble with it, blah, 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 blah. I don't care if you've played it for years. I don't care if you've had the best game you've ever played in this. That's not what I'm arguing. I'm not arguing that you can't. I'm arguing against some of the mechanics it puts in, and mostly the multiple mechanics in this system that do the same thing. Alright, anyway guys, this has been T. Walker, aka Tanner, doing a video for you where I review 3.5 Dungeons & Dragons.